Good morning, good afternoon. Um, Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Angela South, and today I will be giving you, going over some Nevada Promise updates for this year. As always, just to quickly introduce our team, we have 2 student workers this year, some new faces, Janaea and Miguel, who have been with us for about a year. And they have been great. So if your students are reaching out to us, they should expect to hear from myself or one of our team members. Everyone has been great in getting back to students and being prompt with their responses. And of course, I would just like to say thank you to our staff for all of their efforts in getting the word out about Nevada Promise and helping students along the way. So today I would like to talk to you a little bit about Nevada Promise. Some counselors or staff members at Washoe County may be new. So just to give a quick overview of the scholarship, the eligibility requirements, what students need to do to complete the steps in order to receive the scholarship, and we'll discuss a little bit financial aid. So first off, in order to qualify, students do need to apply during their high school senior year. They only apply one time, but it's really important that they meet the application deadline and that they do apply if during their high school senior year, or for example, if we have a student who will be graduating early, it is important that they also meet that deadline. As long as they graduate from a Nevada high school, then they qualify for the scholarship. Students do have to be 20 years of age or younger in order to qualify for the scholarship. And this will be at the time of when they finish high school. Homeschool students do qualify for Nevada Promise, but they do need to earn a high school equivalency and provide that documentation to us by June 15th. And then no prior associate's degree or bachelor's degree. So if this is mainly for our TMCC high school students who earn a associate's degree when they are done with their high school diploma. So they would no longer be eligible for Nevada Promise if they do finish it. Of course, also we have students who missed the deadline last year and want to apply for the first time this year. So that wouldn't count. And then sometimes we do have students who come back to school who have earned an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, and unfortunately the scholarship would not be available to them. So Nevada Promise was passed in 2017, and so we are now recruiting our 5th cohort. We have worked with many students the last 4 years or so, and I can't believe it, but we are in our 5th cohort, and it's been a successful program. We continue to see students complete scholarship requirements, do well in their first year, and just be successful here at TMCC. But a little bit about the scholarship, it is different from, I would say, most scholarships. It is considered a last dollar scholarship, and so it will cover the cost of registration fees and mandatory fees after gift aid has been applied. So I think it's really important that we share this information with students and start to familiarize them with it. However, I do see that high school students, they may not understand it yet until they are ready to start college on their first day of school, maybe like the week before, and they're looking at their award letter from financial aid. I think it's really important for them to review their financial aid award letter. It's going to give them a breakdown of everything that they qualified for. So it's really important for them to educate themselves on what it is that they qualified for, how much, And just so that they know, like, is this a scholarship that I need to apply to each year? But in regards to Nevada Promise, if a student does qualify for a federal Pell Grant, that would be used for their tuition, for their registration fees. And so any of these four, the most common ones are a Pell Grant, Silver State Opportunity Grant, and the Millennium Scholarship. Most of these do require a student to complete the Fafsa, which is a scholarship requirement for Nevada Promise, with the exception of the Millennium. So there are different requirements for that, but as long as they receive any of these four, could be a combination or just one, they would be used first for the cost of tuition, and then if there is a balance, if there is a need, Nevada Promise would pay the remainder. So here are the eligible fees for students under the Nevada Promise program, right? We are students are securing that they will either receive gift aid or Nevada Promise, but should students only receive Nevada Promise, this is what we would be covering. So this is the per credit fee. Right now it's $106.75 per credit, technology fee, the sports complex fee, and the student association fee. Those are the majority of the cost of classes. So it's a huge amount. I want to say about 90% of their fees are covered. What we don't cover is books, distance education fee. So if students, especially now, you know, a lot of them are taking online classes, those classes have an additional distance education fee that we do not cover. It's not very much, it's like $15 per class. Then we also have lab fees that students may have for a biology class and art class, and that's something that we don't cover. And then lastly, the application fee to TMCC. Really, on average, students are paying maybe $75 to $100 out of pocket if they receive Nevada Promise, if they are a program participant. Otherwise, I mean, at the most, I've seen students, if they have a special program that requires a lot of lab fees, they may be looking at $150, and that's really the most students would be paying out of pocket. This doesn't include books, so like the fees for classes alone, it's not a huge expense. And then of course, just depending on books, what is needed on classes, they're looking at maybe $100 to $300 for books. So it's really important for students to continue applying for outside scholarships, because if it's not a last dollar, I mean, if it's not one of these gift aid options, so you have your gift aid, Nevada Promise, and then you have outside scholarships. If they receive any outside scholarships, that's going to be great. They can use that for books and other living expenses. So the scholarship will be with the student for up to 3 years, as long as they complete all requirements. There is no high school GPA requirement, so that's great for those who maybe struggled during their first years in high school and are now getting serious about college. I think it's a great opportunity for everyone, and it really opens up doors. They must be degree seeking, so they do have to have a degree seeking application on file. So I just wanted to go over a couple examples of what students should expect when looking at their degree, at their award letter. And so in this example, a student might have received a total of $3,000 in gift aid. And that's really the maximum that students would receive at TMCC for the federal Pell Grant. And this is going to, let's say, in this example, the student is receiving $3,000 in gift aid from a Pell Grant each semester. They actually have additional funding that's going to come to them in a refund check. And so in this case, there is no need for Nevada Promise this year. Then you may have a student who possibly didn't receive any gift aid. Maybe they didn't qualify for Millennium Scholarship and they didn't qualify for gift aid. In this case, we would be paying the full amount of the eligible fees. So I think, and then you may have students in between who will receive some gift aid and some Nevada Promise, but the goal is that all students would be securing their cost, that their cost of classes and tuition would be covered by applying to our scholarship. So it's great. We have received news that Nevada Promise has been renewed and there has been additional funding from the state legislature. So that's great to hear. However, students do need to know that should we run out of money, that there would be a awarding priority. So anyone who is currently a Nevada Promise Scholar right now would be receiving a scholarship, and it would be based on their Fafsa completion date or their non-Fafsa filer, which I will discuss in a second. And then second, to students who are applying for the first time. So our hope is that, we will have enough funding. This will be the last time this is disclosed, but it is something that students need to be aware of, that we are state funded. And so our funding really depends on the state's budget. It's really important that students know that the required steps and deadlines are mandatory. They're not flexible. They are set by the state. And if students miss a deadline, then unfortunately they would not be able to regain eligibility. This would mean they can't regain it, in the spring semester. They can't regain it next year when they're a first-year college student or in future years. So it's really important that they know that they can't miss a deadline. Otherwise, they would be losing scholarship eligibility. And we do our best to communicate with students and text them and just get the word out about what are their requirements, when are they coming up, and provide those reminders. So I think they have plenty of help. It's just they have to make sure that they plan ahead, they do not procrastinate, that they ask for help when needed. But otherwise, we're here to help them if they do have those questions. So the first deadline is to apply for the Nevada Promise Scholarship. That is now available, and the deadline is October 31st. We want students to have one active application. The scholarship is available at the 4 community colleges in the state of Nevada. So that's a really neat thing about the scholarship. They can always start with us and then transfer to CSN, WNC if that's something that they want to do. We want them to only have one application. So we ask them to apply to the college where they believe they would be attending, like most likely attend. And then from there, if they decide to transfer, then it's a very easy process. They just have to email us and we can make that happen. But the first deadline is October 31st. We also have a scholarship program, Nevada Promise program training. And so this would provide a lot of information about scholarship requirements, deadlines, resources, just more information about how to be successful. And it's really important that they complete it. We have virtual options, so we will be hosting webinars. They also have a Canvas course once they apply to the college that will be available to them. And then in-person options as well. So they have a lot of choices and some time. So I think it's an easy step, right, where you just apply to the scholarship, and then the next deadline isn't until March 1st. So that kind of gives students some time to think about what college would be the best fit for them. And by March 1st, hopefully they're already thinking about that and deciding, okay, am I going to continue with the scholarship or not? And so by completing Nevada Promise scholarship requirements, they are also completing admission requirements. So I am not going over every single requirement today. I'm skipping over a few, but the ones that I'm skipping is just our steps to enroll with the college. And so they can definitely find that information online, reach out to us. But I really wanted to highlight the most important ones that we see students struggle with, or they just need a little bit more assistance with. So the next one would be to complete the Fafsa, and that opens October 1st. It's going to be next school year's Fafsa, so the 2022-2023 Fafsa. It's really important that when they log in, that they create their FSA ID, but when they log in, they have to make sure that they are selecting the correct year. Students who are starting college now, who may be participating in other programs, have the 2021-2022 FAFSA available to them. So we just want to make sure that current high school students select next year's FAFSA application. The FAFSA application does require a student to be a U.S. citizen. So therefore, if students do not qualify, they do have the option of filling out the non-FAFSA filer with our office. That can be located on our website at nvpromise.tmcc.edu. And it would just be under the steps for completing financial aid, apply for financial aid. And yeah, it's a very easy form. They can just fill it out and submit it to us through email or mail. You can fax it over as well. But our financial aid office will be providing different events throughout the year. And so we encourage students to reach out to them if they have any questions about the FAFSA. By filling out the FAFSA, they do qualify for what they're applying to as grants. And that's where the federal Pell Grant comes into play, and SSOG, the Supplemental Educational Grant. They are also applying for work study, if that's what they decide, and then loans as well. Of course, it's available to them, but we're hoping that there would be no need for loans because they would have Nevada Promise and or grants. So the deadline to fill out the FAFSA will be March 1st. We have our students meet with an assigned mentor. And so if anything, the one thing mentors do is help students complete one scholarship deadline. So I think that's a huge benefit, a huge plus, that by meeting with someone who has gone through the process of becoming a Nevada Promise mentor, that they are helping them complete the scholarship deadline. They are here as another support system and an advocate. And so our mentors know general information about Nevada Promise, about the college. We provide them resources. Most of the time, students would be going to their mentor to troubleshoot, right? If they have questions about advising, financial aid, they're able to go to them. And their mentors are not necessarily going to be able to answer all their questions, but they will be able to refer them to the right people here at the college. Often they reach out to us, to our team, and get the question or get the answers, and reach out to their mentees as well. So I think it's a huge benefit to have a Nevada Promise mentor. And I welcome all of you to become a Nevada Promise mentor, especially because you are all on campus with your students. So it makes it very easy for them to complete the step. They're not having to go anywhere. I mean, now, yes, students are able to meet with their mentors virtually, but when you guys are all working with students and on your campus and you know them, it's much easier to know what's going on with them, get the step done, maybe check in with them a little bit more frequently. So I do encourage you to apply to become a mentor. It's not an intensive process, besides the fact that mentors do have to complete a background check, but that's a very easy process with us. You just provide your personal information and our HR department takes care of that. There is a Nevada Promise mentor training as well, and we, just as the students, we provide a course, an online course, or it can be done virtually as well. Another step that students struggle with is completing their financial aid file. And so completing their Fafsa is one step, but now they have to complete their financial aid file. So that could mean many different things. Where can they find this? They find this on their My Tmcc account once they have applied to the college. And then after that, they want to monitor their account to see if they have any to-dos. It is time intensive. It can be with our financial aid office, as they are processing many forms. And then in some cases, students have to reach out to the IRS to request forms. So that takes some time. So we definitely want students to check on their financial aid file as early as December, January. Definitely don't wait until April. This is not due until June 1st, but students would be notified. Hopefully, yeah, they would be notified sooner, and then hopefully they would take care of it way in advance. If they had any questions regarding forms, they do definitely want to reach out to our financial aid office, and they're the best department to talk to about, what is it that they need to complete, what do they need to submit. And then it's really important that they keep us in the loop, especially when they are getting so close to the deadline, that they reach out to our office and let us know, hey, I have this to do, but I'm working on it with Kelly from financial aid, with Leslie from financial aid. And then that way we know what's happening, what's going on with their account, and we are willing to work with them as long as they do everything that they can. And but they do have to meet that June 1st deadline. Students have to complete and report 8 hours of community service. And so the goal of community service is that's going to benefit our community. It's a way of students giving back to our community for the scholarship, given that it is state funded. But we want it to be fun for them. We want it to be easy. So we encourage students to volunteer where, with organizations, nonprofits, or a public service where they may have some interest in. So if they want to be a high school teacher, an elementary school teacher, have them volunteer with them, reach out to certain elementary schools and see if there are any opportunities to volunteer. If they want to work with animals, we have the Humane Society that students can volunteer with. And so we want them to work on it as soon as possible, maybe during their breaks, when they have fall break, fall break, and Christmas break, winter break, that they get that done as soon as possible. But their deadline is not until June 1st, but we know that volunteering can take some time when it comes to planning, when it comes to applying to volunteer. Some locations require trainings and all of that, so we want them to get it done as soon as possible. We are accepting virtual options, but we encourage students to reach out to us to just get more information about, what is acceptable, what's not, and then the steps to complete, or what are some of the steps they need to take in order to verify their community service with us. Nevada Promise requires students to enroll full-time. They do have to be degree seeking at the community college, and they have to enroll immediately after high school graduation, meaning that they have to start in the fall of 2022. Yes, fall 2022, in order to qualify for the scholarship, and they can't take a semester off, they can't take a year off. They have to enroll into math and English their first year, and that's an entry-wide policy. They have to make sure that their credits are going towards their degree. And they have early registration, so we want them to take advantage of that. And we'll be emailing students as to when that will be available, but we want them to apply as early as they can in order to make sure that they secure their spots in their classes, and that they want, they're able to organize the perfect schedule for their lifestyles. The deadline to enroll is July 1st. And we want them to get it done as soon as possible, but we're able to help them out and give them a little bit more time if needed. And so I just said there are no exceptions, or it's a requirement, but for students to enroll full time, but there are a few exceptions here. So the students may request a leave of absence if they are facing a physical extreme case, a hardship. If they are joining the military, these are some options as to why they may request a leave of absence. Anyone who is registered with the Disability Resource Center, and if their specialist recommends that they be in less than 12 credits, then that's something that we work with the student with, but they do need to work with the specialist, and the specialist will reach out to us. And then lastly, students who are on track to graduate, if for any reason they are only needing 9 credits, 6 credits, and they're on track to graduate, then we would be accepting their like part-time enrollment versus full-time enrollment. So we ask students to check their emails when they apply to the scholarship, that they provide a working email and emails that they frequently check, because we will be providing lots and lots of information throughout the year, reminders. We're here to help them as much as we can, but also we need students to reach out to us if they have any questions. There are renewal steps, and I won't go over all of them today, but I think it's important for students to know that although they will be completing the requirements this year, there will still be steps every single year, each semester. Some of them now will change next year to a semester deadline. And so it's important for them to know that as long as they continue to participate with Nevada Promise, they will always have some work that needs to be completed. And that's it for me. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at nvpromise@tmcc.edu. We really appreciate all the work that you're doing with students, for just being there for them every day and providing support and getting the word out about Nevada Promise, about TMCC, and everything that we have to offer. I invite you to reach out to me if you have any questions. If you wanted a list of your students who applied to the scholarship after the deadline, so you know who's on track and who needs some more support throughout the year, then I'm happy to do that. Due to FERPA, there's only certain information that I can provide, but when it comes to like who submitted the application, who has completed the training, couple things like that, I'm able to share, and I'm more than happy to help you and your students. Thank you so much. I hope that this was informational to those who are new to the scholarship and haven't heard about it. And for those who have, it was good to see you, and hopefully I get to see you in person soon. Thank you so much. Have a great day.